From a letter to the Australian and New Zealand Journal of Psychiatry.
Oh, okay.
October 2018.
All right, so close. Yes,
fresh.
Yeah. Australian New Zealand Journal of Psychiatry.
Yeah, fresh. Mostly quotes. Bits paraphrased, but mostly quotes.
I don't know why that amuses me, but yeah, okay.
What's not funny about psychiatry?
Here's some things people have said. Is it quotes from patients? You know they shouldn't be doing that.
Oh, no, I'm going to mostly quote rather than paraphrase too much.
Oh,
no,
okay.
it's not quotes from patients.
Okay, you're going to quote from, okay.
I shall quote them. Delusions of body image and ownership raise fundamental questions about identity, self-representation, and the relationship between belief and sensory evidence.
Okay.
Fine so far?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
While delusions denying ownership of limbs are well known,
ownership of limbs? What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about a lot here.
Yeah.
We are not aware of published reports of patients denying ownership of their genitals. Well-timed sip of coffee. While Will chokes.
Damn, I was not expecting that. Not expecting that one.
Yeah, look, it's not something you hear about a lot.
Okay, so, well, and as they're saying, no one has published a report.
Apparently, not in 2018 anyway. We, the authors, report the case of a 36-year-old Caucasian man. I'm going to call him Keith because we can't keep calling him the patient. It's just so cold.
Okay.
And we're warm here.
Keith asterisk.
Just
in your mind,
asterisk.
It's not a real Keith, it's a generic Keith.
It's a faux Keith. 36-year-old Caucasian who presented to an emergency department highly distressed.
Okay, this sounds highly distressed. I'm distressed now.
You should be, because you nearly choked on coffee.
Well,
he believed his penis had been stolen and replaced with someone else's.
Ow. Oh, yeah, that's... Yeah.
It's not great.
No, it's not great.
He cited, quote, significantly reduced penile length as evidence for his claim.
Okay.
My dick got smaller, it's clearly been swapped out.
It's a piece of evidence. I mean, unless he's got the measurements and the photos to really say it.
Well, we get to that. So it says he had no other urological symptoms. He had no changes in sexual function. He didn't have any kind of gender dysphoria, so confusion or anger or whatever.
No scarring around the base.
No scarring.
No swappage marks. No radically different skin color on.
Nothing like that.
Okay.
There were no other explanations for the quote discrepant measurements. For example, cold weather. It just got cold. Measurement inaccuracy or memory errors. I forgot it was that small. None of that happened.
Or measuring while in a different state.
Yes,
like maybe
asleep.
It was totally it was big and hard before.
Turgid versus.
And now it is not turgid, and so my measurements are different. So it must have been swapped.
I measured it when nestling, and I assumed it had been swapped. In the weeks before he came to the ER, Keith cut his penis and poured boiling water on it.
Oh, I feel sad for you, Keith. I really do.
Wouldn't be great. He found these acts painful and was unable to explain how he could feel sensation from the supposedly foreign penis. He's like, why the fuck does this hurt me? Because this isn't my dick. Even if it had been replaced, I'm just going to say I wouldn't test it by pouring boiling water on it. I'd start with, tap, tap, tap or something. Can I feel that? Anyway, Keith is a guy who likes to go to the edge and really find out. He was also unable to explain how his penis had been replaced, though claimed it had happened instantly like magic.
Yeah, okay.
He was unsure of who was responsible, their motives, or where his real penis might be. He repeatedly implored staff to help him find it and return it to him.
Welcome to the Wholesome Show, the podcast for people missing limbs, with the right limbs, with injured limbs.
Stolen limbs.
Stolen limbs. My limb is not stolen, it is just injured. But
and for people who sit at the back of the class as well.
And learn about science.
Yeah, or not.
Yeah, or genitals and stuff like that.
Will's poor limb is broken because he did a cool thing.
He did a skateboard injury.
That makes you cool. It makes you gangster.
I get it. But the trail of 40-something-year-old guys wandering through the hospital yesterday that had skateboard or mountain bike injuries, certainly...
coolest dudes.
Yes, coolest dudes.
If you're going to get hurt, as I've done repeatedly, you should do it doing something stupid and recreational.
Absolutely. No, I'm down with that. No one wants to have... The worst one is the chair-related injury at work. Like the chair collapsed under you and...
I broke my coccyx.
Yeah, exactly. That would suck. And it would... I guarantee it's happened. But it's much better to have at least some sort of story around it.
Anyway, who are you?
I'm Will Grant.
Oh.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm Dr. Roderick Griffin. I'm certain this is my own appendage. Lamberts.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Wholesome Show is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And genital ownership.
Yes, and it's produced by G'day Studios. If G'day Studios
Existed.
Existed
It might
and
by the
existed.
time you listen to this.
It might. It might.
It might not, but it's getting there.
All right, you're telling about some sad guy, Keith
So
Asterix.
Keith, not his real name. Keith's case of selective penis misidentification.
That's the technical term, the selective penis misidentification.
Yes, selective penis. I mean, the selective I think is interesting. What I don't understand why it's selective.
Unless you're misidentifying everyone's penis.
Oh yeah, that's
unless
not a dick.
You've got a general condition and you're like, no, I can't see dicks. I literally can't.
It's like
you show me a bunch of dicks.
cattle prod, armchair. I can't tell.
No idea. No idea. Or everyone, that's not his. That's not his. That's not all of them.
Maybe you guys should swap.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't want someone going around the world trying to swap people's penises.
Oh, you're going to hate this story.
Right.
So his case of selective penis misidentification differs from the usual stuff, like Kordo, it's K-O-R-O, Kordo, which is a culture-bound syndrome that's related to particular cultures. We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So
I
that's
have
a
heard
belief.
of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have because, that's because science. It's a belief that basically the penis is retracting or disappearing. That's the general thing. And it's also different to your standard sort of penis theft situations, your common or garden.
I don't know what the common or garden one's here, but are you going to fill me in?
I'm going to fill you in.
Okay.
You're going to come away so knowledge. Basically, the reason it's different is because this was persistent, and as you and I both know very well, if you feel like your dick's been stolen or swapped, it wears off. You get
but just for a night. Just for a night, you're like, this isn't mine, but I'll wake up in the morning. Maybe I'll sleep on it and see what happens.
I was not cheating. It wasn't my dick. That's the standard line.
I haven't heard anyone argue that, but I have heard someone argue that it's not cheating if you wear a condom because there's no actual skin-to-skin touching.
Well, foolproof. What a catch.
I don't know how successfully it was argued. Like, I've just heard it said.
I wonder how many times it's been argued. There's also believing that it had been replaced is uncommon. Removed, stolen, shrinking, yes. Actually replaced, very uncommon. And basically related to that, denying genital ownership. That thing is not mine. It's not the same as being transgendered or something like this.
Okay.
It's not like this guy's gone, actually, I identify as a
So
woman.
he was still very identify as male,
Yep.
and I want to have male genitals.
Yeah.
I just want my own back,
Yes.
not that one.
Yes.
Wow.
This is not mine.
Wow. That's kind of tougher. I mean, I'm not saying the trans community have it easy, but
Yeah.
I want a different penis that's my penis, not this penis.
And I mean, what do? You bring a box in and go, okay, is it this? Is it this?
Here's select from a variety.
Yeah,
Box
let's do
chocolates.
it.
You got the.
Oh, you're Forrest Gumping it? No, I think you do the identikit drawing. A bit longer, a bit more banana-shaped, one more vein, that kind of thing. Standard. So Kordo, as we mentioned a moment ago, a.k.a. Jesus fucking Christ, my dick is shrinking.
Yes.
Let's talk about that from the perspective of an excellent situation in Singapore. It's been called, in this article that I dug into, which I really enjoyed, from Mental Floss. A lot of the stories come from this article called Penis Panics Around the World.
Penis panics around the world. Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
So this is a great article. So Singapore's Great Penis Panic.
Is there a date for this, or is
there's
this
a
date? The Great Penis Panic of what year?
October and November 1967.
Oh my God, that's awesome. So specific.
Oh, very. Yeah.
So what's going on in the world at the time? There's riots in America.
Yeah.
The French students are rioting, and in Singapore, the Great Penis Panic
Oh
of
my God,
1967.
my penis.
Wow.
So the General Hospital in Singapore in that period, October, November 67, treated 454
Holy
men.
shit.
454 who believed their penises were shrinking.
Wow. What an epidemic. Like, that's a lot.
Isn't it?
Like, of any condition. If you have 454 people turning up with the flu
In 2 months?
or with
Anything.
what are we doing? Anthrax poisoning or anything.
Yes.
You're noticing that as a thing.
Yes.
Wow.
On the peak day, 97 men came in.
Holy shit.
So that's a lot. It's a lot. One of the physicians who was on call at the time said the patients reported, quote, a sudden feeling of retraction of the penis into the abdomen with great fear that, should the retraction be permitted to proceed, the penis would disappear into the abdominal cavity, likely with a fatal outcome. So they thought their dicks would shrink so much they'd die.
Wow. Not even dicks. See, I was worried dicks shrink so much they're gone forever. And won't get it out again. And I get that's worrying. I didn't think they were worried about death.
Well, as they put, with a fatal outcome. This is their concern. So experts classified this condition as koro, which is believed to derive from the Malay word koro, which means shrink,
Wow.
though it may also come from the word kura, which means a tortoise, because the head of the tortoise is often used as slang
It
for
shrinks,
the
like the
penis.
Seinfeld line as well.
Yes.
Like a frightened turtle.
Yes.
Shrinks inside.
Yes. The Chinese also talk about it. The interesting thing is it doesn't only affect guys. It can affect women. They believe their nipples and or breasts may be disappearing, but that's far less common.
Okay.
But it does happen.
But nipples and breasts, not a vaginal genital thing here.
Not that I'm aware,
Okay.
no. So as I say, there's a similar condition amongst the Chinese. They call it sua yang. My tone is, of course, flawless. I probably said cabbage. It's probably sua yang.
It's fine.
The cultural meanings, they say, have been that cultural meanings or reasons for it have been explained differently when they're talking about these mass episodes of koro. So a guy in 94 called Bartholomew, surname, he argues koro is a, quote, rational attempt at problem solving that involves conformity dynamics, perceptual fallibility, and the local acceptance of koro-associated folk realities.
Okay, you're going to have to unpack a little
I
bit
know.
of that. I got local and I got folk realities. Rational, okay. I understand how it could be rational within that world, but you got to.
It's kind of what they're saying. It's kind of saying, look, there are certain dynamics within the local culture,
Yeah.
people, whatever.
Yep.
People are freaking out about things, and this is one of the way it manifests according to other cultural mores, potentially.
And it spreads from one person to another. Is he saying it
can
is spreading
do.
from one? I mean, it's got to somehow.
Well, they're saying, yes, you can certainly start to, one person gets it, then more get it. And there's a whole bunch of literature I'm not going into that talks about this idea of the extent to which the more you hear about it, the more it conjures it into being compared to it actually being a thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of chicken and the egg argument.
Yeah. And you've heard that it has happened before, so it could happen again.
And then the guy next door literally had it.
Do you know how far back they go? Like,
Yes.
if there's, are you going to tell me?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good, excellent,
I wouldn't-
excellent.
I wouldn't leave you
I'm
hanging.
very excited. I'm very excited because I love, in these culture-bound illnesses, how modern they are or how historical they are. Because you can imagine, totally different world 500 years ago.
Yes.
Do they have the same pressures for these kinds of things, or is it something totally all social media? Because I get if
it's
this,
well beyond social
if this
media,
might have
yes.
been all Instagram dick sharing or something like that, and then you might
Wait a
sort of
minute,
go,
that's a picture of my dick. How did that bugger get it?
exactly, yeah.
Give it back. Another author in 1985 suggests the interpretation of koro would be an acute hysterical panic reaction brought on by auto or hetero suggestion and conditioning by the cultural background. So some kind of suggestive processes that are endemically linked to the culture,
Yeah.
which tells you almost nothing.
It really did, and it was the auto or hetero.
Yep.
We've got a few. Okay, homo as well in there, I guess. But
There's no need to make it weird, man.
I'm just.
Homo's not in there
Well, why didn't they put that in there? Couldn't.
because it's auto or hetero. Well, are you an
So
anthropometrist?
that's someone that's self turned on.
No.
Auto.
Auto or hetero, so self or many, I think, could suggest is what is the gist of that. My Latin's not as good as it used to be.
Okay.
My favourite, though, is a description from 1985 by a guy called Edwards. He offers an ethnographic literature description. Koro attacks or he sees them as unpredictable, but they usually appear after a shock which made the patient anxious or frightened.
1967. When did Singapore get independence?
I don't know. Recent-ish?
No, around then. I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's getting cultural.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were times of upheaval and shit. Unpredictable, but these occurrences, these attacks usually appear after a shock which made the patient anxious or frightened, or after performing strenuous manual labour, or no labour at all, or, and here's the line, or as a result of immoderate nocturnal partying. Work too hard, work too little, freaked out, hungover. Immoderately hungover, as opposed to
And at night time, you couldn't party during the daytime though.
Oh, no. Your
If
dick will
if
stay. You're safe.
If you have excellent parties during the daytime,
Yep.
still fine.
Yep.
But immoderate nighttime party.
Then you're in trouble, probably because sleep disruption. So there's lots of notions of disruption and nonconformity with your community, and the more the cultural complexities and the ways in which you're finding it difficult.
So this is nonconformity with community. So obviously culture bound. So it's spreading through communities, but then also the people that are getting it are people that don't feel they fit in.
They've got some kind of clash. It might not be as obvious as not fitting in one way or another, although
okay.
we'll get to more detail. In Chinese society, so the equivalent, the Suo Yang, perfect again accent, appears, according to Edwards, the same guy of nocturnal partying, as a product of intra and interpersonal violations of medico-sexual regulations.
Again.
Medico-sexual. So basically, I don't know, your doctor fingered you? I don't know. I'm just paraphrasing.
I think it's probably not that. I'm thinking, let me read it. Where is it?
Medico, where do we?
Yeah, no, here we go. A product of intra and interpersonal violations of medico-sexual regulation.
Yeah.
So regulations is the key thing. So someone's violating social mores, like things that you're allowed to do.
Within a medico-sexual environment.
Okay.
Which is not two things I put together very often. I don't go to the doctor and think, I'm going to get lucky.
A medico-sexual.
Yes. And it has to be said sexually.
I like that.
So originally it was believed that koro was indigenous to Southeast Asia, but it's also been seen in Africa, South Asia, North America, etc., since at least the late 1970s. So it's around. And if we go back to the 1967 outbreak in Singapore, doctors had no treatments. They're like, what do we do here? Yeah. They say, so they would examine patients and say, look, everything's fine, champ. And that didn't work. The Singapore Medical Association and the Health Ministry tried to mediate by declaring that koro was an extension of fear, not an actual condition.
Don't be worried about it.
Yeah.
I love this idea.
It's not real.
Government broadcast. You can imagine the TV ad. Don't worry about koro. It's not real.
It's not real.
It's not real.
Calm down.
The best way to solve a problem.
And as we all know, list the facts and everyone calms the hell down.
Don't panic. It's not real.
Yeah, stop it. Interestingly, most victims were men younger than 20. The oldest was only 40.
That's what I was worried about. I just wanted to double check if I'm at risk here. So
no, you're safe. You're only at risk of destruction. Interestingly, also, almost none were from Singapore. In Singapore, 98% had Chinese ancestry. So some had argued that this panic may have stemmed from the psychological stress caused by China's Cultural Revolution.
Okay.
So there may have been...
So, I mean, Singapore's a Chinese-Malay city.
Yeah.
Are you saying they're recent migrants, or are they particularly within the Chinese community?
Or of Chinese ancestry, consequently perhaps more culturally related to China, whether they were born there or not. But China had its own penis panic a few years later, 84, 85. So 17 years later.
Deng Xiaoping.
Penis.
Of course.
That's what I'm saying. Jen Dao Noping. Wrong. China suffered an outbreak of its own. Over the course of 1 year, between 84 and 85, 3,000 individuals were treated for koro.
Yeah.
3,000.
It's Chinese scale though. I mean,
0.001%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like 3 Australians or 3,000 Chinese. The country's on a bigger scale.
There are more people.
Yes.
Yeah. Hospital, but the sufferers here didn't go to hospital. They said, no, we're going to go traditional remedies.
I'm probably better.
For example.
Yeah.
To stave off the shrinkage.
Are we talking tigers? Is it tigers and rhinoceros here?
Feed yourself to a tiger.
Oh, that would help.
You stop shrinking. It definitely arrests any development or other. While the quote is, victims physically pulled at their sexual organs while being fed red pepper, black pepper, pepper jam, or ginger juice.
You're pulling hard, trying to get it.
Look, I looked deeper. It wasn't clear whether it was masturbatory or if it was just holding on and pulling hard, like a single pulling gesture.
I feel like you want to do a single pulling gesture here.
Yes.
Like if you're trying to stop something from disappearing, that's what you're doing.
Or if you do the wanky wank, or maybe you encourage it to stay. It's like, actually, I'm going to stick around because it's pretty good.
Or maybe it's like anti-lock brakes. You know, you do a break and then a pause, break and a pause.
Well, yeah, red pepper, black pepper, pepper jam, ginger juice.
I'm getting a theme here.
Yeah.
Spicy food.
Spicy food, but particularly pepper. 16% of the people who suffered from it were women, and they did talk about shrinking of the vulva, the labia, as well as nipples and breasts. So there was heading towards a fifth also experienced stuff who had lady parts. Most sufferers were between 10 and 25. So youthful.
Yeah, okay.
But also apparently some infants suffered koro by proxy when their parents claimed their children's genitals were disappearing.
No, don't do that.
Thanks, Dad.
Don't do
Mom.
that. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you did the Munchausen's by proxy episode a while ago. I think any
don't.
If we can, keep it to yourself. Keep
I
it
agree.
to yourself. Like let's not inflict these difficulties on other people.
Kids will have plenty of time to find their own psychoses and problems and illnesses. They don't need yours. They can get their own. Otherwise, how will they learn? So anyway, that's dick shrinkage. And if you thought that was bad, imagine if yours was stolen.
Yeah, well, you have made me imagine this.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna fill in your imagination gaps. So Central Europe, 15th and 16th centuries. So we're going back a bit.
Yeah.
One of the first recorded penis panics occurred in Central Europe around then. Men said witches were stealing their ding-dongs and hoarding them in birds' nests. Obvious place.
Hoarding in a bird's nest.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a great place to hoard anything.
No.
Except for birds' eggs.
And even then.
They'll be nurtured there.
Yeah, that's it.
It does feel like there was a bit of an improv story here. Like
where'd they put them? Birds' nest.
Well, someone said so the witch has stolen my dick, and someone says, "Are you sure? Where's it going?" And they're hoarding it, and it's in a bird's nest. It's just keep going.
And they do. So a clergyman, a Deutscher clergyman called Heinrich Kramer. Wrote the Malleus Maleficarum, which was probably the most famous medieval treatise on witches.
Yes.
So he wrote that in 1486 or mid 1400s. He spoke about this.
Stealing our dicks.
Mm-hmm. So to quote Heinrich,
it's almost just to digress a tiny bit.
Please.
It's almost like the hatred of witches might have been a little bit gendered. There might have been some gender issues around the burning of witches and the stealing of.
Because ladies burn more effectively?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on here, but it just might be.
There's that whole sort of, obviously they're jealous that we have inconvenient things in our pants that they don't.
Exactly, and so that's why they would put them in birds' nests.
Yeah, so they're trying to help us, maybe. Actually, maybe it's not anti. It could be pro. You poor buggers. So according to him, witches collect male organs in great numbers, as many as 20 or 30 will cluster together. They put them into a bird's nest or they shut them in a box.
Well, I take a box. At least a box it's a good thing for storing things.
Sanitary.
It's designed for storing, whereas a bird's nest not so much.
A little bit. But the best thing is that the disembodied penises, they don't just hang around. They don't just hang there. They move.
Right. What happens?
They move like living members. They eat oats and corn.
Oats and corn.
And many have seen this.
And okay, cool.
Eat.
If I like oats. I like oats a lot. I don't really like corn that much. I think corn's
I'll take both. But
I don't.
How do you eat it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you eat your oats?
With
my mouth. But sometimes apparently witches weren't all bitches. They would take pity.
There is supposedly the story that you can drink a bowl of milk through your penis.
Oh, that's not a story.
I don't think it's drink, but yeah, supposedly you can.
There's going to be a silence for a moment.
Supposedly, I think it's something to do with sucking your abdomen in the right way, and you can. You can get some. Supposedly,
you can get input.
I feel like there's websites out there that might
specialize
specialize
like there are.
a little bit more than the Wholesome Show. Sadly, does not specialize in things that you can or can't drink.
Early days. Early days. Thank you for an episode inspiration. So yeah, apparently witches weren't always nasty, and sometimes they take pity. So one guy asked a witch if he could have his dick back.
Oh, sure.
She apparently, according to Heinrich, she told the afflicted man to climb a tree and take which he liked out of a nest where there were several members.
Sure, but take your own. Maybe don't take which one of everyone you like.
Well, when he tried to take the big one, the witch said, "You must not take that one because it belongs to the parish priest. Don't take the big priest dick." But she let him go back. I mean, that's not like okay.
You can have anyone. Oh, not that one. That's my favorite. A different one.
Leave the big one.
Yeah, that's me.
It's religious. So moving more towards modern times.
So hang on, was there any facts in this, or did it?
Yes, it all happened. Witches stole dicks.
Yeah, okay.
Kept them in birds' nests or boxes, where they ate corn and oats, and wiggled around. And occasionally, someone said, "Okay, you can have it back, but not the biggest one. That's just tacky."
Did the witches?
All facts.
Did the witches bother? Like, did they put like a bag of oats in there with the dicks?
I don't know.
Or did the dicks go off and get some oats?
Oat hunting. Just gatherers.
This sort of flopping, like someone doing the caterpillar. As it.
What's happening to our oats? Look, you're not going to like this.
Honey, did you eat all the oats again? No. It was the dicks that are in the tree up there.
A flock of dicks came in. I mean, it doesn't. I think it's all facts.
Okay.
Things were different in the 15 and 1600s.
They really were.
Yeah.
They really were. That a publisher would also read this and go, "Yeah, cool. That's all fine. I'm going to go with all
but a publisher then went, "Holy shit! I've been in the game for 40 years. This is the second book I've ever seen."
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Thank God.
No one's saying no at this point. It's either the Bible or a book about witches stealing dicks, and you're thinking this is a hit. This is going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Or a treatise that they would call science, which is really just about if you put rocks next to each other, they don't move. But I'm going to take a long time to say that because I might be heretical if I'm not careful. So that was probably one of the big ones. So West Africa, 1990s into the 2000s. More recent penis disappearances in West Africa. Now, these are more seen as carefully constructed crimes.
Seen by who? Carefully constructed by who?
Well, good people on both sides,
The authorities,
to be fair. Yeah. Between 98 and 2005, West African news media reported at least 56 cases of genital theft.
Wow.
News media. Not all of it on the internet. So we're talking early days, we're talking pre-social media. When did Facebook start? 2005? Was it around then?
Something like that.
Ish. Many believe their penises had been stolen and sold on the black market as part of an international underground trade in organs.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and maybe they were, but I feel like if your dick's been stolen, first up, you're bleeding out.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like they feel like they've been cut off.
But, well, who's buying them as well? Like, is it other people that have had their dick stolen? They're like, I've just got to get anything back? Or
don't you keep a few in the cupboard in case?
I would.
You got too many oats?
I haven't thought about it. Yeah,
You're thinking about it now.
It's the oat risk I've got.
I love my oats.
I don't want to lose my oats.
Rogue dicks eating my oats. One newspaper described the thieves who locals accused of stealing penises and holding them for ransom. So I'm going to nick your dick, and unless you give me money, you can't have it back.
I get it.
Do you?
I mean, that's look.
You do?
Look, as a crime, we know that a lot of countries have kidnapping, a fair bit, all that sort of ransom.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good ransom. People will pay good money probably to get their penis back.
The transaction would be odd. Okay, I'll meet you in a hut on this mesa.
Bring needle and thread, bucket of milk maybe.
Yeah, in case that you coast them out.
Some oats.
Oh god. Victims reported
Bring porridge.
Is that too? Oh, that's milk and oats if you want. Victims reported their penises had been poached in the same way a pickpocket might steal a wallet.
Oh, just walking along the street just quickly.
Yoink.
I feel like they're a little bit more attached than your wallet.
Oh no, we have an account from a boy from Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
He had gone to fetch water for his father and was returning when the thief came behind him, touched him, and immediately he felt his penis shrink until it was no longer visible.
Okay.
Proof positive.
Are you going to give me any physical, evidence here?
How much more do you need?
I know people are saying these things, but I just want to know.
56 cases.
Yeah, cool.
I don't
need to see photos. I just need to know that someone has seen photos.
Oh, there goes half the episode.
I don't want photos. In fact, I really don't want to see that. I just want to know that a doctor has seen photos.
Oh, we'll get to that. When doctors assured men their penises were perfectly normal...
Look, I'm looking at it. It's there. Yep. I can see it.
Pretty much exactly
buddy,
that.
Don't worry about this.
Look, what's that?
Yep.
My penis. So why are you whinging?
Because it's not there.
Many said because their penises only just come back.
It's like you take your car to the mechanics,
yep.
and all of a sudden it's
the noise
fixed.
is gone.
Yeah, like seriously, yep. What's going on?
Although some would complain, they'd say, "Look, yeah, but it's smaller now, or it doesn't work as well."
Okay,
you're like,
it's different.
Okay, champ. Yeah, this isn't all right. So there were lots of, as you could see, 56 cases at least in popular media. There were lots of stories being circulated, and what it meant was genital stealing crimes made people a little bit edgy and a little bit grumpy, verging on furious. So between 97 and 203, at least 36 people were killed after being accused of genital theft.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And the way they died was usually beaten or in other ways executed by angry mobs.
Yeah, and probably with some mutilation going on, anger.
Making it your own there.
I'm just believing that, just people go...
The word mutilation never came up. I don't know why you would go there. You're
right.
freaking me out with your violent...
Do
you have weird dreams?
Not really.
I might tonight.
I just dream about oats. Just oats.
So in an attempt to mediate some of this mass hysteria, police would start to arrest people who basically false alarmed and said, my dick's been stolen. No, it hasn't. You're coming to jail. Because it was creating issues.
Okay. All right.
So that's West Africa. In Sudan, the capital, Khartoum. Such a cool name, Khartoum.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Such a cool name.
And I know Tintin's been there, so it's awesome.
Damn right he has. Still there, maybe. Supposedly, foreigners were roaming the city and shaking men's hands and making their dicks disappear. Foreigners. It was foreigners.
What year was this?
203.
203, okay.
Pretty much yesterday. Rumours circulated, particularly via text messages, basically telling different versions of similar stories. So almost 50 people were arrested on charges of sorcery and fraud. Another 40 were arrested for complaining and inciting panic.
Yeah, okay.
One victim told his story to a British newspaper. He says, the paper reports, while he was at the market, a man approached him, gave him a comb and asked him to comb his hair. already I'm
slightly
like,
weird.
creepy.
Slightly weird.
Creepy as fuck. Can you imagine you're at the shops and someone says,
Can you comb my hair?
here's my comb, will you comb my hair?
Next
I
time-
will not.
Next time you go to the shops, do that.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Just ask anyone.
Hi, excuse me.
Funny until the point that you're arrested, because I think you should be arrested.
And quickly.
Yeah.
Would you,
Whatever you're doing.
Would you mind combing my hair?
Just a bit of a comb. I can't reach the back. Well, I have to.
can't reach the
Well,
back.
I can't do my hair up anymore because I've
that's
only
true.
got one hand. So I might need someone to comb my hair. I'll just ask a random stranger.
It's
Can
just
you
fucking
put my hair up
creepy,
in a
isn't it?
ponytail?
Would you mind touching? Would you touch my hair? I will not.
No, not at all.
No.
No, not at all. It's either paid or it's sexual. Like other than that, no one's touching your hair.
Or both.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's within the two.
Yeah, but paid and or sexual.
Paid hairdresser.
Yeah.
Sexual
hairdresser? No.
or well, sure.
They have sex.
Or yeah, sexual hairdresser.
It's the new growth industry. What kind of haircut do you want? A sexual one? So this guy asked him to comb his hair. And what I love is when he did so, when he did stuff.
So he said yes.
He said yes.
People are really polite.
Oh, God, aren't they?
This is the
Aren't
thing. The people, you don't need to say yes to that. If a creepy person says, "Can you comb my hair?"
Yeah.
What is the scenario there that is going to get you to say yes? Like,
I got
can you
none.
imagine a plausible scenario where someone coming up to you?
No,
There's nothing.
I really can't.
There's nothing. I'm about to go into a job interview and I'm carrying a whole bunch of briefcases.
Put them
Here we go.
down.
No, I've got lots of briefcases. They're locked to my hands.
I'll hold them up. I'll hold them near your head and you can comb your own hair.
And he's got the comb in his mouth. Can you give me a thing?
Please.
Please comb. I got to find a scenario where plausibly
Seriously,
someone would say yes.
If the literally, for my taste, the hottest woman in the world was standing there and she just walked up to me in the supermarket and said, "Would you comb my hair?" I'd be like, I don't think I will.
Okay, imagine you're single. Hottest woman in the world. Hottest woman in the world, and you're single, and she says, "Can you comb my hair?"
I'd be like, only?
Okay.
Okay, well, what's in it for me?
What's
What's in it for me?
I don't regularly comb here.
Yeah, come on. I'm good. I want payback. It's fucking creepy. No, it's true though. Yeah, like this is the Quentin Tarantino. Like, would you give a man a foot massage? Fuck you. Like, it's different. I agree. So anyway, when he did do this, within seconds, he says he felt a strange sensation and discovered that he had lost his penis.
Yeah, sure.
So a Sudanese columnist called Jafar Abbas, he worked out what was going on. And he said, no doubt this comb was a laser-controlled surgical robot that penetrates the skull, passes to the lower body, and emasculates a man.
Wow.
No doubt.
I thought, I get that you've said before there, people were saying sorcery, various forms of magic, but I love that they've gone the techno-robot laser-controlled surgery that is removing the penis here.
Yeah.
That's great. That's nice and sci-fi.
So now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Before it was ridiculous superstition.
I
Now
could
you're
write a
like,
sci-fi
yeah, fair
novel
enough.
about that.
Could you?
Maybe.
You don't have
It
the
wouldn't-
patience.
Novella. Short story.
Paragraph.
Yeah.
One sentence, really. So there's this robots, right?
And I'll spend most of it speculating on what the scenario is that would get someone to comb their hair.
Okay, cue a room. No, a crowded room. No, outside. So he argued that the robots were the work of an imperialist Zionist agent sent to prevent our people from procreating and multiplying. So there is some anti-Semitism that comes in to this particular version of dick theft. He also had a few words, this is Abbas, the columnist, for the man who fell victim to the electronic comb.
Positive words, negative words.
Look, they weren't great.
Okay, all right.
You jackass.
You jackass.
How can you put a comb from a man you don't know to your head while even relatives avoid using the same comb? So it seems like it reads differently, but it sounds like the guy was given a comb and combed his own hair.
Oh, combed his own hair. Okay. Well, that's obviously how the robot would get to you. You're
Jesus
not
Christ.
if you're combing someone else's
hair. Would
hair.
you comb your hair with my comb? No.
I see no reason. Unless his hair was really messy.
Can I lick it first?
Your hair is so messy. Here's my comb. Okay, here's a plausible scenario. You're walking along, you see a messy-haired gentleman about to go into a job interview.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've got a comb. Look, dude, I want you to get the job.
Yeah.
Here's the comb.
Use my comb.
All right. Okay. And then all of a sudden it's a laser-controlled Zionist agent.
Yeah, robot going through the skull, etc. So Abbas, I love that this article goes on to say there might have been something to this, as in there could have been some kind of conspiracy at work, because in the local area there was a study from a Middle East research institute that said there were rumors of penis thefts were started to divert public attention from negotiations between the Sudanese vice president and the Sudan People's Liberation Army.
Yeah.
So they may have spread some noise to cover up their bad behavior.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's independence movements again. I mean, with the Singapore one, I think there's a little bit of politics going on here.
There appears to be some social phenomena at play, as well as dicks just being stolen and or shrinking.
That's true.
So we move ahead to 2013, in the Central African Republic. So an anthropologist...
Which again, I'm sorry, Central African Republic, but it's not a great name.
No.
And we in Australia are not famed for our great names. We've got Northern Territory and South Australia and Western Australia, a bit lame.
Pretty clear.
The Central African Republic, you just need a little bit more.
Well, there are a lot of republics in the centre of Africa, I'm led to believe. So how do you know which one it is?
Well, it's that one.
I want to live in
the one.
Chad. Chad's the coolest name.
Chad's a name.
I'm Chad.
Chad's a guy.
Chad from Chad. There's got to be some. Anthropologist, Louise Lombard, 2013. So she's an anthropologist and she goes out and talks to people and learns stuff about them, as anthropologists are wont. Central Africa, is a place she's used to. So she puts it, elaborate greetings are the norm I've found when one enters a Central African village.
What are we talking with elaborate greetings? Is this the I doff my cap to you, we're doing really twirly things, a bow or something like that?
I'm guessing
things
maybe
with a comb.
Hugs and, those very complex handshakes like Goose and the Iceman would do, in Top Gun.
That we are both far too white to be able to do?
Far too white. My favourite was actually when I was studying anthropology. I think it was New Guinean Highlanders, some of them, who one of the ways of greeting was basically cup the nuts.
Yeah, no doubt.
I just think that's hilarious. You imagine going there and going, "What the fuck?"
I got to tell you, this is a different story. I had a Zoom meeting with a student this morning, and she joined into the Zoom while I had my earphones in. I'd gone into the pantry, and as I said to her, I was just getting my nuts out. And
nice. Nice.
I mean, I was just getting some nuts.
Oh. Would you like to see my nuts?
I didn't mean any of that. I was just getting a little bowl of nuts. So
the trick is to not acknowledge that it was awkward and move on, because by acknowledging it,
no, acknowledge it, and then you're safe.
Or you do that. I'm just going to get my nuts out, and you hold up the cashews. I didn't mean my balls. I'm not talking dick jokes. Oh God, I'm not trying to molest you over Zoom. Oh my God, this isn't sexual. See, that would be too much.
That would be too much. Yeah. That would be too much. I didn't do that. I just
Well,
so there you go.
Speaking of
elaborate greetings,
molesting students online, not you, other people, elaborate greetings were common. So she was surprised when she noticed that many people in this village weren't shaking hands the morning she arrived. The town is called Tirongolu. Tirongolu.
Okay.
Flawless accent.
It's all right. I'll be able to look it up on Google Maps.
Tirongolu. It's a town of about 2,000 people. It's one of the remotest corners of the Central African Republic. So she was there.
It's still very central. Because it's
central, remote corner.
It's a corner of a central.
Of a central. So still dead center, really, like geographically, utterly. So 2010, she's there. And she noticed that everyone was being aloof. At least physically.
She is an anthropologist, and I can understand that.
They notice.
Well, it's an outsider is in town. What I'm saying is
act different.
Maybe everyone in the town is saying, okay, let's
Louise is here, act
aloof.
different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much contact Louise had before with them, but
she lived there for 42 years.
All right.
I'm making that up. I have no idea. But I assume she's at least in some sense.
Okay. She knows the difference.
Known, yeah.
Previously they'd partied. Today they're not partying.
Yeah, they're like, this is weird. They weren't even shaking hands. So if elaborate greetings are normal and they're not even shaking hands, you're kind of like,
okay,
what's going on? She soon found out the reason. She says the day before, a traveller passed through a town on a Sudanese merchant truck and with a simple handshake had removed two men's penises.
Okay.
Which is not cool.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't want that. It seems the stranger had stopped to buy a cup of tea at the market. After he handed over his money, he clasped the vendor's hand. The tea seller then felt an electric tingling course through his body and immediately sensed that his penis had shrunk to a size smaller than that of a baby's.
That's not great.
No, it's like
babies typically have rather large genitals proportionally, obviously.
I don't. It's not my kink, man. I don't know.
I'm just saying. I've seen.
I don't. Oh yeah, you've had babies, I suppose. That's fair. Apparently, this guy's yells quickly drew a crowd, and somehow in the fray from the first guy, a second man fell victim. So the first guy, the tea seller, is like, "My dick's gone," and the other guy's like, "Fuck me, so's mine." What? Yeah, everything's gone crazy. So Lombard says she was less shocked than she was intrigued. And here we have the end of the scientist.
Well, she's an anthropologist.
Exactly. As she says, as an anthropologist,
I wanted to know what's going on.
Who studies the region, so she's familiar. I was familiar with the problems of penis snatching. We all are. What surprised me was that the phenomenon, or depending on your perspective, the rumour, had made it as far as Tirongolu. So apparently,
as opposed to what?
It's far more common in big cities.
Oh, okay.
So the idea, and it had been going on a lot, like an epidemic in
this is
2 decades.
So this is the African Sudanese or Central African Republic.
Yeah.
But far more common in big cities than small towns.
Yeah. And they seem to think, anthropologists speculate, it may have something to do with, as they put it, an increasingly mystifying and capricious global economy. So it's like, what the fuck? We don't understand the economy. We've got no money. So supernatural ideas and other sorts of economies begin to turn up. But apparently penis snatching is seen as an urban phenomenon. So, and it's an expression of anxieties pervading cities, blah, blah, blah. Villagers come to the urban zones and get freaked out, living amongst a whole bunch of people.
I can believe all those anxieties.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly all those political things as well. Maybe being more urban, but I wouldn't have guessed
Or
that.
at least being in the urban. So she was saying, so here I was in Tiringalu, this dusty, peanut-growing hamlet, so small that and poor it barely had a market. So it was very unusual. Okay. So shortly after this happened, members of the armed rebel group that governs the town, that's fucking relaxing, isn't it? We're the government. Mm-hmm. Are you? They arrested the traveller and, quote, subjected him to harsh interrogation for his own protection.
Cool.
Because if they'd left him to the mob, the town's women probably would have torn him to bits.
I mean, I don't doubt that might have happened, but still, it doesn't sound much better.
I'm going to harshly interrogate you to protect you. But the protection, it turns out, didn't last long. He was basically shot. They executed him.
Great, thanks.
They claimed, though, and I like the language, they were aware that international law frowns on summary execution, so they claimed he ran away. So anyway, he was shot.
Ran away into that hole in the ground where we buried him after we shot him.
Yeah, after putting a hole in his head.
Yeah. He ran away with holes in his head.
Running away-ish.
Yeah, and then dug a hole, and there he is there, very run away.
Mm-hmm. So as for the men whose dicks were stolen, and you were asking about this earlier, where's the evidence? Several eyewitnesses assured the anthropologist that the dicks did indeed shrink dramatically. Now, I don't know...
I've seen Gary's before, and Gary's was very different to that.
Yeah, and
like
you're
that was...
in what sense were you an eyewitness to a guy's dick shrinking? I mean, they're not naked people.
No, but all of a sudden, like...
He's walking differently.
He's walking way
He
way
used to have a
lighter.
swagger. Now he's got his head down and he shuffles from shadow to shadow.
He used to have difficulty walking, the poor guy, but now...
Old tripod is no longer that. So there was that. She said, look, I didn't actually see this myself, but she visited one of the guys, one of the victims in his home, and he had clearly was suffering. He was lying propped on one elbow. He was slack and listless and wearing loose sweatpants. He was on a woven mat in the shade outside his house, and a handful of friends kept him company.
Okay, well, that sounds all right. He's just hanging out with his friends.
How you doing, Noel?
He's a bit listless.
Not
having to lie down.
I don't feel great.
Okay.
I don't have a dick anymore.
Stole my dick.
She says, over cups of sweet tea, I asked them how they understood, very anthropological word, how do they understand recent events? Penis snatching, they said, was a means of supplying an illicit and lucrative trade in organs. So apparently they say Cameroonians and Nigerians, people from places where there are multi-story buildings, so towns, that was a big deal.
Okay, yeah.
Were seen as particularly good at this.
Well, then that's what they're seeing in the truck. The truck is a representation of city and urban and the international economy.
And it's always other Cameroonians and Nigerians. Yeah, sure. The not us are doing this.
Sure.
You see how advanced Cameroon is, they'd say. It's because they are so strong in commerce of all kinds, including trade in genitals and scalps. Yeah,
no doubt. They've got a booming economy in lots of things. They do microchips, trucks, and scalpsy penises.
So, can you imagine, like, okay, I've got tomatoes, I've got some pasta. Hang on, I'm just going to go to the dick shop. Because we're going to need some of those.
But it does talk about all those fantasies of what the big city is. You know, you can imagine village life, and the city is just so other, so dominant, so powerful. They could do anything there, including trading in dicks.
Not only would be motivated to.
Sure. I've desired to, but in our small town, there's just no market for it. That's the problem with Canberra.
I know.
It's just not big enough to have a dick market.
Look, I did go to the markets back in the 80s with a basket full of dicks, and no one bought one. I didn't get it. Hand embroidered.
A lot of this is reminding me of the Friends of Rom album, Dick Sandwich.
This is reminding you of that because the word dick's in it, or is there more?
Well, it's because there's 3 dicks on a sandwich.
I'm not aware of them buying them for food. Food did not come up.
Oats.
So eat a dick? No, as in people aren't eating the dicks.
Yeah, okay.
I think they're using them for things.
What are they using for? Magic?
Ceremonies, usually. Occult, healers.
Yeah, so magic.
Yeah, that's one of the main ones. Or else what they do is they fence them back to the victims.
Oh, so yeah, for ransomware or magic.
Yep. But apparently the real money was to be made in Europe.
Okay.
So one man who'd spent time living in Cameroon said he heard of a woman, so we got evidence now, He heard of a woman there who was nabbed by airport security while trying to smuggle several penises to Europe inside a baguette.
In a bird's nest. In a baguette.
A baguette. Well, it makes sense.
I get it. You could hollow it out and light like a
That's
couple
one of the
them.
emoji you can use for such a thing.
Exactly. So you just take out all the soft bread inside. roll that
Anything to declare? No.
Oh my God.
What is this? Is it penis. Is it yours? No. I'm sorry. What are you going to do? Sell it?
But again, rumours of Europe.
I heard.
I get it. Look, Africa probably has a lot of rumours of Europe that
and many
stem
places.
back to colonial times.
Many places, yeah. So what's going on with all this stuff? So according to Scott Mendelsohn, who's a psychiatrist and author of, and here's a page turner, I assume you've read it, The Great Singapore Penis Panic and the Future of American Mass Hysteria.
Okay. It pivoted there a little bit, like the story of Singapore and
American mass hysteria.
America in the future.
Yeah, and I don't have the date of when it was written, so maybe this is America in the future. Right?
Oh, look, possibly.
It's probably close. He notes there are some cultural differences, but on the whole, most victims of penis panics had a few things in common. Usually male, not always.
Yeah.
Age, youngish.
Okay.
And they were also they were very sort of average people. There was nothing special about them. They were just everyday folk. They tended to be young, poorly educated, working class, single, and but otherwise just don't stand out.
Usual, but lower level education.
Yeah, low level education. But like they don't stand out. They weren't spectacularly weird or successful or horrible. They were just average, low educated, younger folk. Generally, it seems they had no history of physical or mental illnesses in anything outrageous. However, of course, many of them wouldn't have had a lot of access to mental health services to confirm that.
No doubt.
But even when, in the cases where it was possible, psychiatrists, physicians, researchers would evaluate them after they'd had their panic. And they found on the whole no evidence of psychosis, delusional thinking, like it was just like...
It's just one-off and a weird
they spack out and it backs off again.
And so it mostly goes away?
Yeah. So Mendelsohn, the author, reckons these fears might be a manifestation of everyday angst. So because they're in their teens and 20s, many are male, it's an age when they're starting to think about the ladies or the other places and the bodies and the sex and the children.
Those things, yes.
They're having, thoughts and confusions.
And then suddenly they can't do it. Where previously, you know.
Yeah. And also, as we've seen a thread running through, like war, revolution, financial crisis, etc., seem to amplify it, and these epidemics tend to occur during large political upheavals.
I think that's a really interesting one. Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's horrible, but it kind of makes sense. So, and there have been other mass psychogenic illnesses. I mean, you talked about the dancing plague, etc. Like these things, these exist.
Yeah, totally.
They're not uncommon. Well, they're not unknown. That's probably uncommon's maybe the wrong way of putting it.
Yeah.
And you got others. You got things like there's one in India called Saora. Exclusively affects young men and women belonging to a particular tribe in India. They cry and laugh at inappropriate times.
Oh yeah.
You know this one?
No, I don't. But I have heard of like it's the laughing, a laughing sickness, where people do just burst out laughing. Probably it's the inappropriate laughing.
Yeah, inappropriate laughter and crying. According to this one, they get fainting and memory loss. They claim they feel like ants are biting them repeatedly. Sounds horrible. Symptoms almost always subside after a marriage ceremony to the spirit that's causing the hysteria.
Oh, that's all you got to do. You
just marry a spirit that's being shit to you.
Ghost. And this is in India, so a marriage isn't a small thing.
No, it's not.
You got to have a pretty performative thing.
But so this is not uncommon. Like I did my honours in anthropology 1,000 years ago on culture-bound syndromes, and I did a much more banal one comparatively. But I got to read about a lot of them. I did a one called Nervios. It was like a Latino, but often Latina disorder. So people who came from Spanish-speaking but not Spain would get these outrageously over-the-top responses to things. And one woman, the one that stuck in my head.
What sort of things?
Well, this is the thing. So she suddenly became wildly psychotic.
Okay.
Like wildly psychotic, freaking out, yelling, screaming. She'd eat plastic flowers. They took her into a psychiatric institution. They gave her antipsychotics. They had no effect.
Yeah. And
then they started talking to her, and it turned out her husband and she had recently divorced. And she was wigging out that she would not be able to afford to look after her children.
Yeah.
So they got the husband in, and he said, "Don't worry, I will make sure I honour my responsibility to my child, etc." She was out the next day, like she just stopped.
Yeah, okay.
So there's these particular things that happen that.
Well, there you go again. It's an anxiety that is clearly born in society.
Absolutely.
There's objective things going on that make you anxious. Then it manifests in a weird way.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. I mean, I could list a million, but I shan't. Oh. So what about koro? How do you fix koro?
How?
The dick shrinking disease. So one thing to be clear on is the dicks aren't going away,
Yeah.
but there are definitely at times severe physical injuries as a result.
Yeah, I'm sure. People trying to fix it themselves. Home remedies.
Yeah. So they'll do things like they want to, the bottom line for many of them is they want to keep their dick there.
Mm-hmm.
So people would come in with rubber bands, chopsticks, clamps, clothes pegs, and related injuries, as you can imagine. And my favorite is sometimes they would have a relative hold their penis, or relatives hold their penises in relays, so they take turns.
Someone was always holding it so they can't
to keep
get stolen
it from
by the
going in
witches.
until they could get some treatment.
That's fantastic.
What a weird job.
It's a thing. Oh, look. If
It's your turn.
if your brother is really worried about it, you got to step in and help out. But
I would. Here are some clothes pegs. Here's some string and a clamp.
duct tape.
Duct tape, exactly. So those injuries were real, but the actual damage physically was
Nothing actually there
zip.
before.
Yep.
Yeah.
But as I say, so often the episode, they're usually brief. They don't tend to happen again. Most people recover within hours or even days, and they're convinced the illness is over, and often they feel like it never really existed even. So you tend to get over it.
Yeah. Okay.
You have this horrible time, and then you stop. What about Keith, though?
Yes. Give me Keith.
I miss Keith. So this is going to get a little, the language is a bit bland, but he remained preoccupied with his belief for 2.5 months. He was psychiatrically admitted for 2.5 months.
So Keith thought that it had been stolen and replaced.
Yeah, stolen and replaced. And he was convinced of this for 2.5 months in psychiatric admission. He had no evidence of any other psychotic or dissociative symptoms. So just that.
Yep.
And the whole time he was in, he kept trying to go to other urology clinics and stuff to get them to give him a penis enlargement. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They tried antipsychotics. They didn't work. Then finally, clozapine apparently helped a little.
Okay.
They did detailed medical examinations, blood tests, cognitive testing, brain imaging, no evidence of abnormality. Urine test, the only thing they found was some cannabis.
Sure, but
I've had cannabis. Sorry, a friend of mine has had cannabis.
I have not heard the link there before.
No, I've not heard or seen. He did have a history of some sort of
I like the idea that you can get so stoned that you feel your dick's gone. I mean, I don't like the idea. Don't like the idea.
How high are you? Someone swapped my dick
gone.
out.
Yeah, well, that's pretty high. That's pretty high. You're greening out then.
So he'd had a little bit of schizoaffective stuff and hallucinations in the past and depression, but that had been managed with drugs. When they spoke to his family, they revealed a long-standing body dysmorphic concern, so worried about his body, what it's its shape, and insecurities with women that came before any of his psychotic symptoms. So it's probably that he just felt like he couldn't get the ladies and he wasn't cool and he didn't like his body.
And then suddenly my dick's gone and with someone else's. That's the problem.
Can I get this made bigger? Because the problem is mine was fine, but this one isn't. Yeah. And so it sounds horrible. And here's the boring psych version. The case, this is what they conclude. The case illustrates how body dysmorphic concerns may interact with psychotic vulnerabilities. Yes. It is possible that implausible hypotheses about personal insecurities may be accepted as belief in the context of more generalized predispositions to bizarre ideation and impaired belief evaluation. So basically, it depends. If you're feeling messed up and shit's wrong, stuff can go wrong. And you're like,
cool,
yep.
I get it. Oh, wow, what an explanation.
I know, it's shit. So I like this one better. So if we go back to our Central African Republic town of Tiringulu, the anthropologist asked the town doctor what he thought about this sort of thing. Could he help the victims?
So did you know the town doctor? Do you know his training? Like, is he trained in sort of...
It was a wide training.
Okay, modern medicine or traditional medicine, or
modern medicine, and it would appear.
All right, cool.
So I think doctor is as an honorific and maybe not a qualification.
Cool. No,
so he was a medical man. When the anthropologist asked, could he help the victims, he shook his head slowly as if trying to gauge how much I believed about the whole affair.
Yeah.
And then responded, Western medicine is no match for this magic. It's a mysterious thing.
No doubt.
So I like that. In the end, you know what? It is weird. Doctors don't know.
But
it's odd.
But then Western medicine, in his paradigm, of doctors and chemistry and stuff like that, that's not going to be a mix because it's clearly psychosis.
That's not what's causing it.
He didn't have the equipment to deal with that. So
but I like it. So Westerners can't handle magic. It's weird. It's odd.
I get it.
And that's a perfectly acceptable definition as far as I'm concerned. Like, what's the difference between that and someone's feeling messed up by things?
So why isn't it global?
Give it time.
Okay.
It's all over the States. No, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. Maybe
manifests in different ways.
Yeah, I mean that's the question. So at the base of it, what's going on probably happens all over the world, but the symptoms could be wildly different depending on the individuals and their context.
I mean, maybe there is the anxiety of the international economy and stuff like that. Maybe more traditional societies or colonized societies maybe do it more.
Well, you know, some people react to that kind of thing by voting for people like Trump.
Really?
That's definitely a disorder.
Yeah, they've lost their dick and so they'll vote for Trump.
Or they voted for Trump and was like, oh, my dick seems
Barack
to have gone.
Obama stole my penis, and so I'm going to vote for Trump
And replaced
to
it
get it back.
with this monster.
And now Joe Biden is taking my penis again or something.
Or giving me one back. He's giving me a better one, but it's a socialized penis, so I have to share it.
Don't worry, listener.
Don't worry.
The Wholesome Show, me, Will Grant, him, Rod Lamberts, we've got your penises back. Or whatever you need. We're here to help.
Just hit us up on Twitter if you've lost your penis or it's been replaced. Let us know.
We're brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science and obviously of mass hysteria.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just don't be hysterical about this. It's all okay.
Such a good song.
I know, it's the best. They should do a heavy metal version.